All right, friends, we're back. Level Up Grappling Podcast. And here we are once again for another episode of Technique Talk with Coach Adam and Coach Brian. So we use this time to really focus on the techniques you guys need to know, your questions, we have answers, and we want to use this as an opportunity to develop you from the ground up. And speaking of the ground up, let's just first start focusing on footwork. I I noticed when I do clinics that 99% of the people that come to a clinic or when I go somewhere to teach a seminar have no concept of proper footwork. And your footwork is a foundation of your proper wrestling. If you do not have your foot placement proper and you're not conscious of how you're moving your feet and your weight distribution, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. So I thought, Adam, we can start with that today. Why don't you start by enlightening us with your vision of proper footwork, and let's see what we can do to help these listeners out in terms of getting their footwork down properly. How do they start with their balance, their footwork, their placement, how to move their feet? Because as much as you would think people want to focus on this, I believe they take it for granted. I really think people take footwork for granted and how important it is in terms of setting yourself up for success. So I'll let you take it from there.
Um, Good question. I guess how do you teach someone to keep their footwork correct? I guess it would be the same way that you teach a boxer to maintain correct footwork. And the wrestling footwork is not drastically different from boxing, kickboxing, or anything like that. We don't want our feet in line. We want them spread. We don't want them. We want them slightly changed. Depends which way I'm moving. I want bend at the knees. I don't want to be flat-footed. I don't want to be thumping my heel into the ground. I don't want to be, let's take a shot for an example. The only time my heel's going to hit the ground is on that front penetrating step. It hits and rolls onto my toes, which gives me more drive. The rest of the time, I'm on the balls of the feet like a boxer. I'm moving around. I don't get my feet in line. I definitely don't cross them. It's basic biomechanics and balance. And I mean, you said it before, Brian, before we even came on. People say, the more I lean on my toes, I feel like I'm going to fall over. Yeah, because you're looking at the mat. Yeah, that's what it is. You're bent over looking at the mat. And when I teach it, I get a brand new guy coming to wrestling, a beginner wrestler. We go through what's called the gospel of wrestling. Yeah, I have a wrestling gospel. And it's things like head up, correct stance, bend at the knees, not the waist. This is where we change levels. Don't cross your feet. Hands in the correct position for defense and for attack. At the same time, look at their chest. When my eyes drop below their chest, I shoot. I make these things habits. Penetrate with the heel step. Any other time on your toes, be light, be mobile. And we have this whole gospel of wrestling. Keep my spine active so the top of my head and my butt is a straight line. Everywhere I turn, my whole body turns to face that way, so my spine's active. I mean, one of the major goals of wrestling, if you think about wrestling, what do I want to do? I want to clear my opponent's defenses, penetrate into their space, take them down. The way that I do that is to cut an angle. I deactivate their spine. So mine's nice and strong in a straight line while theirs is bent over. That's one of the whole goals of wrestling in the stand-up game and on the ground. Even on the ground, and if I'm in a referee's position, top position, parterre, attack position, whichever style of wrestling, whatever you call it, the first thing I want to do is get that head offline. because I'm deactivating that spine. It takes the mobility away. It takes it. Whilst I have to keep mine. So my footwork is super important. It is the foundation because it's what's on the ground. It is our own foundation. If we're the building, our feet are what are on the ground, and we have to have it stable. So that's probably the most important thing, little over shoulder width apart. Keep a wide stance. There's nothing wrong with a wide stance, There's not. It doesn't have to be in as tight as you can get because you think we're pivoting really quick. If I'm too close like this and I pivot really quick, now what's happening? I'm in line. When I've got a wide stance and I pivot, I'm not. Yeah, if this makes sense, this is our feet. If I'm too close and I pivot, I'm in line. Now I'm weak. If I'm wider and I pivot, I'm still strong. I've still got base. It's a very important thing, the width, the base and the mobility of that stance is all important. It's the first thing all wrestlers that learn from me get put through. They get drilled through this gospel of wrestling, and it's all about things like stance, head position. They have to know how to do that before I can teach them to wrestle. You can have all the takedowns in the world. If you can't stand stably, it's good to know one.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Stability is everything. It's interesting to me. I teach out of a high school wrestling room, and I watch the wrestling team, and none of them have learned proper stance and motion, proper footwork. They just automatically go into shots, and a lot of them are very mechanically flawed. So, you and I both had clinics recently that we did. The first thing that I focused on the clinic that I did was, I did a radical departure from what I would normally do, because a lot of times people bring me in because they want to learn some fancy move or whatever. They want to learn something cool. So I spent a lot of time recently analyzing and kind of like from what you're saying about the gospel, just organizing. And I said, you know what? Today we're going to be spending an obscene amount of time on footwork, getting them in a proper stance. Because when they say, if I tell them to go a little bit wider, because I don't want them completely on a straight line with their feet. I want it staggered. I want a staggered stance. But what was happening with some of the guys is they thought a staggered stance would be, and I don't even know how they did this. It's so crazy, almost like a lunge, where their lead foot and their trail leg are literally in line 1-to-1 right behind each other. I go, dude, you're going to fall over. And they go, why am I falling over? I go, because you have to open your feet. I go, so I start them off. Okay, everybody stand square. Now step your 1 foot back, go heel to toe, bend your knees, chin parallel to the floor. And then, I try to explain to them, I go, everybody's going to have a different feel. So you have to go based on your own shoulder width and what feels stable. Now get your heels off the floor. And then the first thing they do is put their chin down. Because they all, like you were saying, everybody wants to look down. I go, you got to stop looking down. If you look down, you're going to fall. The minute I see your chin dip, I'm snapping you. It's really that simple. I go, I don't have to be some Hulk, to snap you down. The minute your chin goes to the floor and I'm watching it, I'm timing it, boom, it's a done deal. I don't have to do anything else. You're doing the work for me. And so a lot of it was really intentional focus on how to create your stance, and then how to get a feel for being, like you were saying, being on the balls of your feet. Because a lot of people find that awkward. Because when you really start to analyze it as a coach and you see how many people walk incorrectly, when you kind of really measure someone's gait and you watch how they're walking, a lot of people walk very flat. They're very flat footed, or they walk on their heels. And you don't realize just how unstable you become if you're heel heavy. Right.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, there's no mobility now, no mobility at all.
So if you look at that analogy, a person walking, if you study somebody walking in slow motion, a correct walking, even like Olympic race walkers kind of guys, yeah, or girls, you'll see the heel hits, it rolls forward, pushes off the toes, the heel hits. Yeah, so it's almost like this wave. That's how the foot goes when someone walks. It's because that's momentum. Yeah, that's what creates momentum, which is why we say when we shoot, change levels, penetrating step, heel hits first, we roll. As soon as I hit my toes first, I'm slamming the handbrake on that shot basically. Yeah, I'm putting the brakes on the shot when my toes hit first. When my heel hits, I continue to roll like I'm walking. It's that momentum. When we're in a stance, there's no momentum. It's about base.
Mm.
Yeah, and I need the footwork. The definition of footwork for me is not stance. Stance is static. There is no footwork. A stance is a position. My definition of footwork is how smoothly I can move that static stance where it needs to be under pressure. The quickest way to do that, especially on angles to the side, forward, backward, is going to be on the balls of the feet, like a boxer.
Mhm.
I make all my wrestlers do boxing footwork workouts. Yeah, and I'm not saying every training session. I'm saying when they're first learning, I teach them the old Rocky style. Yeah, tie their shoes together, and if the rope hits the ground, you're in trouble. Sort of thing. And it's not about that. I want you in a boxing stance. Yeah, we correct the stance as we go and we widen it because the stance again is a static position. Movement is not. Movement is not static. Okay,
Mhm.
so it has to adapt. And if I'm, as I said, here and all of a sudden I need to pivot, I should still be with that gap so I can drive. Yeah, and I'm stable left and right. If I'm too close together and I have to pivot all of a sudden, I'm gone. Yeah, so you make sure that, yeah, if we move, that whichever way I'm moving, that's the foot that goes first, yeah. And we come straight back, always, to the static position. Each micro movement is the same. 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't overcompensate one or the other. 1, 2, 1, 2. And boxers do this really well. And so I do use boxing footwork drills in the wrestling stance because I find a lot of people confuse footwork with stances.
Mhm.
Yeah, stances are not footwork. Stances are stances.
Yeah.
Footwork is movement. Stances are static. Footwork is not.
Yes. I I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And it's very interesting to me, excuse me, that I do not see this focus when I'm looking at high school and youth wrestling. I see a lot of times these kids, it's just not focused. There's no attention to that detail. But I will say this. I also don't see that attention to detail with a lot of MMA fighters and MMA coaches. I see these quote unquote striking coaches that are so interested and so keen on their fighter hitting the pads that at no point have they ever focused on their feet. And I learned a lot differently. I learned from the feet first, feet up. Everything I learned was from the feet up. It wasn't, okay, here's a hook, here's a jab, or here's an underhook, here's an overhook, here's a collar tie. Feet first. And this is something that I think is such a glaring mistake overall. I don't see it at all in jiu-jitsu. And this is two jiu-jitsu black belts talking here. I don't see it at all in jiu-jitsu. There's never been a jiu-jitsu class that I've seen, been to, experienced, or a jiu-jitsu practitioner that I've ever encountered that had any concept of footwork.
That's probably because they walk out and sit down. I don't need footwork sitting on my ass. But I think I have seen a few guys that had really great footwork in jiu-jitsu. My coach Phil was one of them. But you find that a lot of those guys that have really good footwork in their jiu-jitsu and stuff usually all were boxers before grappling was around.
They were either boxers or judokas.
Okay, so
right,
because that's
you have no judo if you don't have footwork.
No, you have no boxing if you don't have footwork. If I stand static and go with all the punches in the world, it's like getting hit by a little kid. Their power comes from the ground. We all know that when you throw a punch, it comes from your toe. That's where the power comes from in the punch. It's your leg. It's the whole body twist. Yeah, the force is generated from the toe up through the knee, into the hip, into the pivot, through the shoulder, out into the fist. Power comes from that, not your size of your arms or how wide you throw them and stuff. It comes from your foot. Same thing with judo. I'm not going to get into a position to throw someone. I'm not going to create good kazushi and stuff if I can't move them. And if I'm crossing my feet, they're going to move me. It's going to be the opposite. It's the same thing with wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling is exactly the same thing. You have to have that footwork, but it has to be stable. And that comes down again to the active spine and deactivating the opponent's spine. Yeah, if my spine is straight, solid, stable, I'm a much stronger force if I can force his feet to cross, if I can force him to twist or turn or come off that base and really create, then I can shoot my takedown. That's the whole point of cutting angles. It's the whole point of deactivating the spine.
Yeah. It's so critical. And I like I said, I think that you're so spot on with all of that. And when the listeners are taking this in, I hope you're taking notes and really focus on footwork solo drills. And the beautiful thing about practicing your footwork is you can do it by yourself. I don't want to hear, I don't have a training partner to practice footwork with me. You don't need a training partner to practice footwork. You should be doing this on your own, spend your time, and be conscious until it's a natural flow. You have to be practicing this every day. This is not something that you can ignore.
All my wrestlers do footwork drills every session for at least 20 minutes. And that's where they're transitioning from the straight line, 45, 90, 180 behind them, how to change those positions under pressure with someone pushing here. I change, deactivate their spine, all while keeping a solid stance and footwork. Every wrestler, I don't care, even my national champions, they all do it.
Yeah. It's so critical. That's a glaring issue that I see when people are coming to clinics and seminars and stuff. One of the things that they're missing right out of the gate. And I think in a sense, that's what detracts people from, in my opinion, from practicing and learning proper stand-up wrestling, stand-up grappling, is the amount of time you have to put into footwork.
Yeah.
Right? They're lazy because they have the biggest thing. They're like, oh my God, I feel it so much in my calves. I didn't realize I have to pivot with the ball of my feet. I'm like, how do you think you're going to pivot if you're not on the ball of your feet? Yeah. I go, you're not going to be able to pivot, man. You can't move. How are you going to take a quarter turn? How are you going to slide by somebody if you don't have your footwork? How are you going to move off the center line? How are you going to attack if you don't have your mobility with your feet? Oh, I've never used these muscles before. Oh, I've never used my feet like that before. And it's not that I hear one or two people saying that. I hear it across the board, you know? And so that's something that I realize I really have to put even more emphasis and time on because
Yeah.
of just how much people are missing,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's why I do it still. In my experience, like I say, national champion competition wrestlers all do it every class. Doesn't matter. Every session, every training session, they all do it for 15, 20 minutes. And they're solo drills. It's a solo drill,
Mm-hmm.
have a spot on the ground. The spot on the ground is their opponent. They work around it.
Yeah.
Literally working this way, that way. 45s, 90s, 180s, go around here chasing them backwards. All those sorts of things. They just drill by themselves. And exactly as you said before, you don't need a training partner for that. And the difference it
Yeah.
will make in your wrestling is amazing. It'll be surprising. If you've got good footwork, good solid base, know how to cut angles and can drive, that's half the
You're
battle.
good to go.
It's half the battle for any wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
The rest is easy.
And what's interesting about that is then you realize you don't need to learn 300 different techniques and takedown variations to get somebody to the ground. You'll
Yeah.
be so far ahead of the game that you'll be like, oh my God, this is almost getting easy. And then it becomes predictable in terms of how you can move somebody around. We spent a lot of time, where I'm currently teaching out of, because it's a standard wrestling room. They have the circles, the wrestling circles on the floor. And so I said, okay, everybody, when you are doing a partner drill, you must stay in the circle, cut them off from the circle, cut them off inside, cut them off, cut them off, cut them off. So we'll work first the solo drills, and then I'm focusing on getting them to cut the opponent off within the circle and understand how to pivot, how to cut an angle, how to shuffle step, how to get inside, and how to touch them. I go, boom. As soon as you touch them, chest to chest, back up, start again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, for I think a lot of these guys, kind of like the gates of heaven opened up. They're like, how come I never learned this before? I don't know why you've never learned this before, but this is the key elements.
It's
I
the
don't
base.
want to train anybody. It's the base. My whole thing, I always tell them, I'm not training you for your Jiu-Jitsu World League competition where everybody's a hack. I'm training you to go against an Olympic gold medalist. And I'm not saying you're going to win, but I want you to understand the keys to their footwork, the keys to their mastery. Isn't that you look at these guys? Let's take, I'll just always use Jordan Burroughs as an example. He's basically a one-trick pony. He's got one thing. But if he didn't have the footwork that he has, and the mobility and the angles he can cut, he wouldn't be able to do what he does. Yes, he has special God-gifted attributes that you don't have, I don't have, none of us have. Yes, it's less than 1% of the high-end grappling population that would even be able to touch what he can do. That's not the point. The point is you have to understand conceptually how he functions from the base level, like you're saying, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
How do these champions function from the base level? And it's not a secret move. And I said something over the weekend to these guys, and I go, we need to make a T-shirt of this. The magic is in the mechanics. The magic is not in a secret move. The magic is in the mechanics. If you understand the mechanics, you will look like a magician.
Mm-hmm. And you have to drill those mechanics.
Yes, you do. Can't get around it. These are things that have to be done daily.
Yeah, you might know them, but if you don't commit them to muscle memory when it's happening under pressure, it doesn't matter whether you know them or not.
Yeah. It has to be done on the daily.
Hmm.
Okay, so what I was also thinking to do today, as many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Ebba Gerald's Iron Faith Academy. If you are looking to get into wrestling or even add it to your jujitsu or whatever you do, I do not get paid to say this because I'm a paid member. I am a real big fan of the Iron Faith Academy. You can go on, it's not expensive. We've had Ebba Gerald on the podcast. Dude's excellent coach. I would highly encourage you guys to get on there and study. The way he has everything organized, the clinics you can watch, and everything from a coaching level all the way down to a practitioner, I think his content is outstanding. So I cannot endorse it enough. The Iron Faith Academy. And again, this is not paid. I don't get paid to say this. I am a paid member. I love it and I'm inspired by it and I learn from it on the daily. So I thought we could answer some of the questions that come up on the Iron Faith Academy because a lot of times I'll type in answers, but you're very limited because you're just typing and you only get a snapshot. So I figured we can answer some of these questions today because I think it's gonna help everybody. So the first question came up was, when I am wrestling with people, I often get my underhook, but they sometimes are able to hit kind of like an uchimata or
So Whizzer.
something, but yeah,
Yep.
but they step their leg across and I fall because my underhook gives them an overhook. How can I stop this?
Do you want me to go first, Brian, or you?
Go first. Go first.
You
Yeah.
got he's got an underhook. Don't let him get an overhook. Drive the shoulder forward.
Mm-hmm.
You should be punching that underhook up deep. There's a saying that we use here at my gym called "attack the crack." Yeah, and it's literally, yeah. Everybody laughs at it, yeah, and it's true. Yeah, everybody thinks butt crack. That's true. Yeah, Mark Schultz mentions it a lot, and I've had discussions with Mark about this. Attacking the groin. Yeah, I'm attacking the crack. That's the lower tier. Okay, so we break down the body into tiers. So our lower tier, when we talk about attacking the leg, shots, single legs, all that sort of stuff, the lower tier, hip to hip is the top part of the triangle. Crotch is the point. Yeah, the hips and the crotch will control the entire lower body.
Mm-hmm.
The top tier, shoulder to shoulder, head. Okay, now if you look at the human body, where's the crack? Here's the crack. Attack the
Mm-hmm.
crack. Like, attack it. Don't just stick your arm under there. Of course you're going to get wizard. Yeah, because you're allowing him to keep an active spine. The minute I hook it up tight, drive it down into him, head control into his head and break him off to an angle, I've got control. He's not using an overhook anymore. He's trying to keep his head from getting snapped down into the mat. That's how you stop
Yeah.
that. That you stop that immediately. You do that, he shoves his leg across to try and wizard. I shoot him for a high crotch. Attack the crack. That's how you stop it.
Yeah. That's a great explanation. One thing I would add to that, one of the things I like to do, it's a very Greco thing to do, and especially this is very effective if you do not have the strongest shoulders or if you have injuries. Instead, you need to make sure, like following up with this attack the crack, you cannot have a lazy underhook. Okay, it has to be active. Now, one of the things that I like to do, and one of the things that I teach, especially if I'm hitting, say, a pinch headlock, which is one of my favorite techniques, is on that underhook, I teach everybody thumbs down, elbow up. When I hit thumbs down, elbow up, when my elbow is up on my underhook, especially when I'm going to enter into a pinch headlock, they cannot hit that whizzer. It stops them from reaching around and taking a good bite on an overhook on me. And on top of that, like Adam was saying, you have to. This is one of the biggest issues that people have with underhooks, and they go, "Oh, underhooks don't work." You're twerking, man. Your ass is like 20 feet away from their body. If you're attacking the crack, if you're getting inside, fucking put your hips inside. You know, we run these drills very similar to a Greco drill, where you better attach your hips into their hips, and I want a deep penetration. You cannot have your ass out and expect, well, how did they get an uchimata on me? Because you gave them space.
Mm-hmm.
And you did not have an active underhook. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, as Adam was saying, you did not control the inside head position. Okay. No. So there's again, the magic is in the mechanics. Nothing we're talking about here is complicated, and it's not difficult if you focus mechanically on what needs to be done. Take it step by step. You don't have to just say, oh, jump into it all at once. If you're not ready for that, start by practicing how do you get an active, aggressive underhook, not a lazy underhook.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That's a big one for me. How do you enter with your hips? How do you head position properly? These are things that you can break them down sequentially and practice each individual thing, and then put the components together.
And as you say, the elbow up, thumb down. We don't use that analogy, but it's a good analogy. We just call driving it to the ground. So when I punch it up there, I'm throwing it over.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to. Because I don't want to be standing in a straight line with my opponent face to face here. If I drive that underhook, exactly. I want him over to the side with my head in so I can start controlling, deactivating that spine and looking for my takedowns. I have to break his line. That line has to be broken. Yeah? And we use that like that cavalry type term, break the line, hold the line, break the line. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to do. Our line has to hold, his has to break. And I can't do that like this. It's the same as an arm drag when I see people pull them in and they're front on. They're basically giving each other a kiss on the cheek sort of thing. Like when I arm drag, I want him going past me. I want to be around going behind him. Yeah, I should end up in a waist lock from an arm drag. I shouldn't be pulling each other into each other. That's no control. I'm not breaking in line. I need to break his line and maintain mine. Hold mine, break his. And this is what that does. By doing here, we're both holding our line, which allows for a whizzer. The minute I drive him over and stick my head into the control V here, into his neck or up under his chin, the less chance he's going to whizzer.
There's no whizzer.
And it's, as you say, step deep in behind in there, get a real penetrating step, hip to hip. We don't go quite as hip to hip unless we're looking for a suplex or something off it. But I will definitely have whichever arm I'm underhooking with, that one stepping behind him. Yeah, that leg is stepping behind, because then I can take my singles and stuff off that because his line is broken. And the advice that I can say to that person is definitely attack that crack and drive it, break that line.
Yeah. And I think one of the key components here, and you're going to hear this a lot, is breaking the line, breaking their spinal alignment. I always talk about you have to disrupt the spinal alignment. And I don't think we can overemphasize that point enough. People are too comfortable or not conscious of breaking spinal alignment. You have to disrupt their spinal alignment. Otherwise, you're in for a fight. It's very, very, very simple. But again, these are things that you have to drill and practice.
You do.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question.
Yeah, give me the next one.
Yeah. This is cute. How do I hand fight better? I know the basics, snap, pull, push, etc., but I feel like I need more, or is that enough?
It should be enough. It should be enough. For me, it should be enough if you know how to snap, push, pull, drag, it should be enough. I think for me, what again, part of our gospel of wrestling that all beginners learn is our 5 zones of defense, from the hands to the elbow, to the head, to the shoulders, to the hips, to the feet. I need to clear all these things. Hand fighting shouldn't be about pat cakes. Hand fighting should be climbing the body.
Mm.
Yeah, you grab my wrist, I want to grab your elbow and start breaking that line again. That's what hand fighting is about. Hand fighting is about clearing all these upper body defenses out the way by breaking that line so that I can attack the hips, I can attack the crack.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line of hand fighting. Move it.
I think the thing that people are missing with hand fighting, like I do a lot of hand fighting drills.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we focus on is we focus on literally one area at a time. Whereas we go, okay, I want you focusing on the wrist joint and below the wrist joint to really work those hands, how to push them inside, how to control them, how to manipulate somebody from that. I think one of the biggest disconnects when people are thinking about hand fighting, and this gets back to what we started from the beginning, is hand fighting, there has to be movement. If you're just standing there flat-footed, or if you're standing on your heels and you're asking, why isn't my hand fighting working? It's probably because you don't have any footwork in conjunction with your hand fighting. And then the other thing is you're rushing to the next step. Like, how are you focusing on the joints? If you maintain an awareness that you're looking to manipulate joints, then you should be working on that, the joint where the wrist is connected, so that I can't turn my hand out, so I can't regrip you, right? How I'm grabbing, like Mark Schultz would say about grabbing the 4 fingers, really taking that low and just grabbing those hands. If I'm at the elbow, I need to be manipulating the elbow joint. When I'm underhooking, or dragging, how am I taking the shoulder joint? How am I manipulating these joints? But I'm not just doing that on my heels. Again, it gets back to what Adam was saying from the beginning. Are you conscious of your movement when you are applying now the hand fighting techniques? You have to do everything in steps. But when you do things in steps, you have to learn how to put it together. I'm not just standing there, flat-footed, on my heels, squared up, and trying to grab somebody and go, well, how come my hand fighting isn't working? Is my stance correct? Am I moving? Right? Am I pivoting? Am I cutting an angle? Am I working the hands off the angle? Right?
Mm-hmm. Am I breaking the line? Yeah, that's the thing.
Break that fucking line.
Break that fucking line, yeah. So we have a thing where we have our 5 zones, yeah. So we start, our hand is our first. If they get past the hand, then our forearms and elbows will frame and brace. If they get past that, then my head comes in to stop them. If they get past that, then I'll use my shoulders and hips and stuff to try and shuck and all that sort of stuff and keep them away. The way we do it, there's 5 that we talk about, and in the upper body, there's literally 1, 2, 3, 4 in the upper body. Yeah. What I want to do is we can only jump 2 at a time. Yeah. So if I've got a good hold of a wrist, the furthest I can go is to a collar tie or a head tie. Yeah. Shoulder tie, because I can go to the elbow and I can go to underhook. Mm-hmm. So I can drag or underhook. Yeah. From here I can go to the top, then I can shoot into the hips. We can only jump 2 at a time. Yeah. And we find that it really puts into the person's head a sequence to hand fighting. And each time, if I move your hand to my right, I'm moving to my left. Yeah. If I'm moving your head to my left, I'm coming round to the right. We're going in opposite directions. And as I come round to the left or the right, I need to drive myself back in with my head control, keeping that active spine through a drive. It's how we cut out. And these hand fighting drills are all to get them to gut, to break that line, get that defences out the road, which opens an attack. Yeah, hand fighting is not about, as you said, Brian, it's not about standing in front of each other and playing patty cakes. Yeah, who's going to grab each other's hand and pull it out and grab it and pull it out and grab it and pull it out. There's a sequence of events that happen in a hand fight like any other fight where I'm trying to get to an advantageous position. When we're stand-up wrestling and we're hand fighting, I'm literally trying to get a grip on something in order to grab the next thing and move it out the way so that I can attack you. And the person who's getting that hand move is using their hand fight to try and pull back and get their defences back in and move yours out the way. It's a constant battle of breaking line. That's what wrestling is. The shot, the takedown, that's all at the finish. Same as on the mat wrestling. When I break that spine, I deactivate that spine, break the line, the turnover, the cradle, the submission, the points, the go behind, the sit out. It's all a result of the line breaking that I've done beforehand.
Yeah. It just, you guys, I think you guys are going to see a pattern here that includes movement. Okay. I cannot overemphasize enough from what we were talking about when we first got on. You have to learn how to move your feet. You cannot cross. Don't step your back foot in line with your front foot. Don't cross behind yourself. You're going to fall over. Have your stance. Learn how to move from your stance. You got to have a stance, right? We know that, but remember, like Adam was saying and teaching us, stance is static, right? When we're on our feet, when we're moving, right, that's dynamic. So you have to have dynamic movement. Hand fighting is what? Is it static or is it dynamic? It's dynamic. And have a goal. We're not just there, we're not just doing Wing Chun moves. I mean, it's fun to practice, to get the drills down, to understand how it works, but what's your end goal? To stand there and stall somebody out and patty cake them? Or are you trying to get to the back? Are you trying to, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to set up a collar tie? Are you trying to move them in a particular direction? Are you trying to foot sweep them? What are you trying to do? What's your end goal? And then from what your end goal is, what's your chain? How are you chaining to get there? And if your end goal doesn't work, then what are you chaining to do for the next thing? Because what I see a lot of is people have an intention of one particular technique. And if that doesn't work, they just reset and do it again. Well, why? You have to learn how to chain wrestle. Okay? So if my drag doesn't work, maybe I'm stepping out and I'm hitting a collar tie. If that doesn't work, maybe I'm hitting a 2-on-1. I'm going for a Russian. Maybe I'm coming around the other side. Maybe I'm bumping them to take a single leg. So you have to learn how to chain wrestle and not focus on one particular technique. And if that doesn't work, you just abandon everything and just go back to standing there square like a frozen statue. And this is going to lead me to the next question. The question was, when I am going against an opponent, I set up my shots, but it never feels like the right time to shoot. So when do you know to shoot?
Okay, for us, when we teach beginners, I instill in their head that any time my eyes drop below the solar plexus through changing levels, whether I'm pushing him up so I can drop down, whether I drop down and he doesn't follow, anytime my eyes are going below that chest, below like the solar plexus, lower chest, I'm shooting regardless. Yeah, and it's purely to put him off guard. If I get the shot, great. If not, I'm making him move. Yeah, I teach that as a drill. Anytime my eyes come down below the chest level, I shoot. Below the chest level, shoot. Below the chest level, shoot. This is not how I would want them to do it in a competition, but it sets a precedent in their mind that anytime I can get my head below his chest, I can shoot the legs. Yeah, every time. Then we'll talk about how to move him, break the line, cut an angle, shoot from angles. Yeah, it all adds up. We teach it piece by piece. Every time is a good time to shoot. How do you know when to shoot? When you've set it up correctly. When you've broken his line, when you've changed levels below his chest, when you can penetrate deep enough on your heel, stepping on that heel to drive further. When I can do all of those things, that's the time to shoot. But you should be practicing any time that person lets you get your head below their chest, there's an opening for a shot. Because the reaction time, once my head's below your chest, that reaction time to counter that or stop it or block it is disappearing drastically. The lower my head gets, the longer the time it's going to take you to defend it. You're talking milliseconds in good wrestlers. You know, that's my thoughts. You know, once you get your stance correct, your understanding of breaking the line, whatever that is, whichever way you do it, whether it's hand fighting, head control, movement, whatever it is, you break that line, keep yours, you hold your own line, break their line, can change level to a point where I can get my head or my eyes, if I'm looking straight like I should be, not at the mat, when I'm looking straight at my opponent, when my head drops below their chest, there's my opportunity to shoot. That's basically it.
I think that's a great answer. So I'm going to give a complementary perspective. So I'm going to answer it a little bit differently because I think everything Adam said is 100% correct. And now I'm going to give an alternate history timeline, so to speak. If you're telling me this question has to do with I'm setting it up, I'm not getting it, I'm setting it up, I'm not getting it, stop shooting. Start chain wrestling. One of the issues that I think people have with regards to the shot is it's too predictable. Because especially here in the US with folk style wrestling, that's all I see. You have no variation to your attacks. So I would suggest setting up different chain wrestling events that if your favorite thing to do is a shot, and I'm putting this in the context that you are insistent on the only way you can take somebody down is with a shot. Okay? Because in my opinion, quite honestly, I never shoot. Why? It's just I'm usually taller than a lot of people. I'm not that tall, but I'm taller than a lot of people that I go with. But the thing is like I notice people's footwork is so bad. I can usually just trip them over their ankles. And I have certain techniques that I do. Like I favor a front headlock. I favor pinch headlocks. I favor a lot of upper body stuff because for me, it's easier on my body. And I am fairly confident in my chain wrestling that if I wanted to shoot, and if it's there, I'll take it if it's easy, but I don't insist on the shot. So my complementary perspective is stop insisting on the shot. Why is that all you're doing? Get it down, do everything to get the shot correctly, do everything Adam just told you. 100% do everything Adam just told you to do. My alternative timeline is stop insisting on shooting and focus on other attacks. A lot of that has to do with, again, movement. When you're shooting, a lot of you are very, very linear. You're just going front to back, Maybe you circle a little bit, but you're circling. You're not stutter stepping. You're not pivoting. You're taking very wide circles, and then you're shooting. Wide circle shot, wide circle shot. So my alternative history timeline would be stop doing it. Put it to the side, put it on the back burner, set them up, tease them with other things. And guess what? You may find a tremendous amount of success with a go behind. You may find a tremendous amount of success with a front headlock. You may find a tremendous amount of success with my thing, a pinch headlock or a foot sweep. So learn how to chain wrestle with alternative perspectives. We are, I can't speak for other countries, but I can speak for the American system of folk style and what I see in high schools. We collectively are so obsessed with the shot that you're willing to sacrifice every other technique and every other position, and you're willing to sacrifice your movement for the fucking shot.
I agree wholeheartedly there, Brian, with that. Like, my answer to the question is, how do I shoot correctly? That's how you shoot correctly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would 100% agree with you on every level. And it's not just America with folk style, it's internationally. Watch the Olympics. It's the same thing. Leg dive shot, leg dive shot, leg dive shot. So it's just diving at the legs. Yeah, nobody knows why. It's I guess it's kind of like judo for me. Yeah, high percentage things. This is the most high percentage takedown in wrestling is the shot. Let's just drill that. Let's just keep doing that. Same as judo. Yeah, it was like used to be the whole Ippon Seonagi's the highest percentage throw that happens at the Olympics to win gold medals. Let's just train that. Let's look at variations of that. And you are right. Some of the wrestling that I see nowadays, as I say, we don't have the wrestling culture that you guys do, so you would see it far, far more than I would here. But even watching, because I do watch the NCAAs and I watch old NCAAs and that, it is very linear, you know. And that is goes back to, again, to, as you said, the movement. When you're doing shots, I can't, if Brian's holding his line and I'm holding my line and we're both trying to shoot at each other, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to break the opponent's line before you shoot. And that sometimes that means you moving. Sometimes it means moving them. But in a perfect world, it's both. I'm moving them one way, whilst moving myself the other way, which opens an angle that I can shoot. I've broken their line, mine's still active, happy days, charge. You know, but 100% I agree with you. There's so many other techniques that can happen rather than a shot. So many other techniques.
Yeah.
And so many other techniques that are preferable in certain situations than a shot.
Absolutely. I think that's what people need to understand.
Yeah, and look, I think, and I've said this before, and it's not me bagging MMA or anything like that, or jiu-jitsu for that matter. Yeah, I love both, love training both. I teach both. I have coached both. Pretty much now I teach just wrestling and catch wrestling, but having coached both, I think that as a wrestler, purely with a wrestling background originally, when I saw all the other stuff, it's like, it's kind of like people's perception since MMA and jiu-jitsu. People's perception of wrestling has been the shot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've discussed it before. I've been to actually MMA gyms where the advanced wrestling, so the wrestling class, they ran a wrestling class, not wrestling coaches, don't claim to be, but they teach a wrestling class. You tell me how that works, I don't know, but it does. Okay, so I went to the wrestling class, single leg, ankle pick, or leg dive, low single, whatever you want to call it. So you had your low single, basically a run the pipe single, and a power double rugby tackle type thing. Those three techniques were the wrestling class. Okay? The advanced wrestling class was doing all three in the one class at the one time. right? And this is what it is. This is what has happened. Yeah, like with the MMA influence and the jiu-jitsu influence. Like, yes, I understand there's a lot more wrestling in jiu-jitsu now. They still call it jiu-jitsu. But look at the takedowns. In jiu-jitsu, look at the takedowns. It's always single leg, double leg, single leg, double leg, single leg. So people's perception of wrestling is all wrestling is a single leg and a double leg. And then when they come to an actual wrestling coach who goes, forget the single leg and the double leg, that's kind of cheating. It's not even really wrestling. You know, I'm grabbing their legs and pulling them out from under them. It's kind of cheating. Here's where we wrestle. And they say there's more to wrestling than just a single leg or a double leg. A lot of people, I think, get discouraged with wrestling and disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the conditioning that they don't like, of course, and the impact of the throws, especially if you're suplexing someone. But also, I think people come with this miscomprehension. I think that's the correct word, or misunderstanding of what wrestling actually is. And it is more. And like boss, we all love to shoot a big double and stuff like that, and take someone down. You know, looks great and feels really good to do it. There's much more to wrestling. There's a grind involved in wrestling. Yeah, and that grind is what people don't want to know about. They want to know how do I do a Matt Hughes power double where I lift him up, walk around the cage, show him to his own corner, walk back to mine and slam him. That's what I want to do. That's wrestling. There's more to wrestling than that. What about all the stuff that led up to Matt Hughes getting that double? Yeah. So I think that's the part of the problem with people's idea on why they do shots, why shots are so prevalent now. Yeah, is because that's what's understood by, I guess, grapplers that aren't wrestling heavy or haven't done a lot of wrestling. That's their understanding. Talk to white belts and say, oh, what do you know about wrestling? Oh, double leg, single leg. And no, that's it. And that is what has been propagated. Yeah, and then it's coming down to, you see, and I think people need to remember that a lot of the guys in America, the competition wrestlers, are shooting singles and doubles, just shot after shot after shot, because they're trying to rack up the points. The more they win, the more benefit to them personally. Yeah, they're basically, whether they're NCAA or not, you get the top NCAA guys, they're basically professional athletes. Yeah, the sponsorships and all that sort of stuff that makes them professional. It's just worth. Look at some of the money these college guys are making. They're not even out of college yet, and they're making millions already. Yeah, why would you risk that when I can just keep shooting a double until I get him down and get my points? Yeah, and so that's the conception that the perception that people have of wrestling, and that's why shots are so prevalent. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, well, I love it. All right, so here's another question for you, and I get this one a lot. How do I wrestle somebody when all they want to do is pull guard or they jump guard?
I've never seen anyone jump guard in a wrestling room.
Wrestling room, no. But in a jiu-jitsu competition?
Well, we're talking about jiu-jitsu contest or a competition?
Yeah.
Look, if it was me, I'd be slamming them, but that's me. Yeah, you jump guard on me, it's a world of pain coming. Yeah, but for the sake of the question in competition, I would be putting them back on the ground for a start. Yeah, and then using classical wrestling passes where I'm tripoding with the head into the solar plexus, really putting some weight down, pressure down, forcing the head starting to walk around, breaking their line. Yeah, attack the cracks. Yeah, I think I sent you a video of what we do with the guard pass where I grab the head and just really destroy the spine. The legs pop open immediately. That's what I would be. That's what I would be doing. Yeah, put them back on the ground, nice and gentle, so I don't get disqualified. Hook up if it's no gi. Hook up a sort of a cross underhook, like a bundle grip. Pull their head across. Crank the neck down to their shoulder, and just pop the legs and go past. If it was in a wrestling room and someone did that, well, the punishment that they get for doing it, you wouldn't have to do anything. The coach would tear him in your arsehole.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, putting it into, a submission grappling / jiu-jitsu competition context. I get that question a lot. And I answer it in a couple of different ways, but always starts with the same thing. If they're holding on to you and they're pulling guard, there's two issues we have here. One, you had no movement and you didn't have a staggered stance. You're literally standing there square and you're literally planted flat-footed or on your heels. That's number one. Number two, you're not hand fighting. What are they going to do if you have their hands? What are they going to do to you? Absolutely nothing. So it gets back to, again, setting up your stance properly, have good movement, hand fight, and if they're so insistent on them sitting on their ass, help them. Now, you can't slam them, even though I agree with Adam. I would fucking slam that bastard. But if you have a momentum where they're sitting back, they're sitting, nobody's sitting forward, they're sitting backwards, because that's the nature of the guard, is to sit backwards. Help them, push them. You don't have to slam them, but you can definitely push them, push their head off the center line, pin them. You don't have to fall into their guard. I think that's a misnomer. Like, oh, he's pulling guard, so I have to fall into their guard.
That's that agreement to position.
Cut the angle.
That's that agreement to
exactly.
Position. And I think
don't agree to the position.
Yeah, that's the first. There's the wrestling. How do I wrestle against the guard puller? Don't agree to it. Right? That's the wrestling attitude to it, and that's the advice from a wrestler. But I also sit there and go, it's a trick question to me. Like it really is. If you're in a competition situation or a training situation where the person is pulling guard, on you, why are you wrestling? Do jiu-jitsu. This is where we talked about at the last podcast with the guys. Hybridization. You use what works. Jiu-jitsu has developed an entire passing system to deal with the guard position. And yes, wrestlers have a way to deal with it. We talked about it, In jiu-jitsu, they call it a stack pass, basically. We call it, breaking the line, cradling, all that sort of stuff, whatever you want to call it. But I look and go to the person who's asked the question, you're asking me, how do I wrestle someone who pulls guard? Don't do jiu-jitsu. How do I do jiu-jitsu on someone who's a wrestler? Don't wrestle them. That's how I look at it. I sort of go, I'm not sure if you're in a position where people are jumping guard or pulling guard, obviously you do jiu-jitsu. Because as I said, it doesn't happen in a wrestling room. So obviously you do jiu-jitsu, which is great. Happy days, you're doing jiu-jitsu. Why are you looking to wrestle out of jiu-jitsu's main position? As a white belt, you're taught how to begin to pass guard. From the very start, how to hold guard, how to pass it. There is a system right there that you're obviously training in because these people are doing guard to you. You're obviously training into it. Why are you looking to wrestling? And that's not me shooting down wrestling. Wrestling can't deal with it. But in the context of this conversation, there's no way I can describe to you how to do that. It's kind of a trick question. I have to get a hold of you, say, put me in closed guard, and I'll show you how we deal with it. As a wrestler. But, in the context of a question on a podcast, how do I wrestle against someone who pulls guard? Well, like you said, Brian, don't stand square where they can jump and get both legs around your waist. Move out the way. If you are controlling the hands, controlling the head, and holding your line, and breaking their line, as we talk about in wrestling, they couldn't jump guard because they're facing out to the side. If they do jump guard, they're going to land flat on their back in front of you. You know, it's impossible to jump guard when you break their line. Again, it comes down to footwork breaking the line, footwork breaking the line, footwork breaking the line. That's all it is. Footwork, break the line, control the hands. You do those three things, people can't jump guard. People can't take you down for that. Okay. They can't shoot.
No. Exactly. I think, and again, the magic is in the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
At no point have we discussed today any secret technique, any bewildering technique that you have to learn in some mountain cave, you know, with like 3 ravens and a wizard or something. It's not. This is fundamental mechanics and foundational technique that you need to learn.
Yeah.
Period. And so much of this, like we've already stated to you guys, so much of this can be done on your own.
100%.
You know, get a mat, just go on the floor, whatever, put a soccer ball in the middle. And start pivoting and moving around the soccer ball. Just don't look down. Learn to make sure that your jaw is parallel to the floor. If you can do it in front of a mirror, do it in front of a mirror. So you can start to watch yourself. But you have to, at some point, you guys need to take accountability, personal accountability for your own movement and your own your base, your foundation. Okay?
Get to a good coach.
It's not a magic move.
Get to a good coach.
Yeah, you have to get to a good coach.
You know, don't assume anything just because they say wrestling, we wrestle at this gym. Lest they're a member of USA Wrestling or Wrestling Australia, they don't wrestle at that gym. They may do wrestling moves. Unless they're certified by the national controlling body, they're not wrestling coaches, even if they've done the course and have been certified before. At that very minute, if they're not on the list, they're not a wrestling coach.
No.
That's the bottom line. Yeah, it's the bottom line. Now, does it matter? Well, if they have the skill set that they've been a coach before at a high level or been a high level wrestler themselves, I would say at a skill level, possibly not. But I also go, are they up to date with the latest things in wrestling? Probably not. If they were a wrestler and now they're a jiu-jitsu black belt, do they have the muscle memory of their wrestling? Or are they that ingrained in jiu-jitsu that they're always going to go back to the jiu-jitsu rather than the wrestling? So their wrestling's going to change. We talked about it with MMA, building MMA guys, yeah? I'm sending my wrestlers to a boxing coach to learn boxing. I'm sending them to a jiu-jitsu black belt to learn submissions and learn jiu-jitsu. They're learning wrestling off me. Find a good coach who knows how to teach the fundamentals, knows how, somebody like Brian, right there in a wrestling room, done a seminar yesterday for high school wrestlers, and shame on all you bastards in America, you high school wrestlers that didn't show up and the coaches who stopped them from coming because you would have learnt some shit, right? And you would have stopped just doing leg dives and shots. I digress. Find people that know what the fuck they're doing. Find people that can teach you the shit you need to know to make wrestling successful for you. If you're a tall guy, you're probably not going to get a lot of shots on short guys. They can mirror your level change too quick. Find someone who will teach you how to break that line so that your shots can be effective from an angle they can't defend as easily. Yeah, it's important. All these things are important. It's the context. You guys, as Brian just said, everybody who's listening to this, take accountability for your own shit. Right? It's great to ask a question, and if we can answer it, great. But at the end of the day, I'm in Australia doing a podcast. You're in America. Why are you asking me? There's a million wrestling coaches there that would probably be able to show you exactly what you need to do. Make the effort, take the accountability, and learn off people who are offering to teach it. You've got one of the biggest wrestling cultures in the world. Take advantage.
Yeah. It's true. That's very true. And on that note, I haven't announced this, but I'll announce it today. I'm planning on switching locations. You know, I've been teaching out of the same wrestling room for like 4 years, but I'm looking to move. So if there's anybody out there listening and you guys that are in the Orange County area and you know of a high school or, you know, a junior college or something that's looking for an assistant coach, that's about as much time as I have because I have a full-time life outside of this. I'm looking to jump on somewhere and add whatever sprinkles I can to the cupcake of whatever team or system that's out there. So I'm looking to make a move. Hit me up if you guys are looking for an assistant coach, or if you have a coach that needs a new wrestling coach or wants an assistant wrestling coach, hit me up. You know, here at the Level Up Grappling Podcast, hit me up on Instagram. You guys know how to get a hold of me, levelupgrappling@gmail.com. My phone number's everywhere, so you can call me, text me, whatever. So I'm looking to make a move fairly quickly. I want to make the right decision, so I'm not going to do anything hastily. But I definitely want to go somewhere where it can be a collaborative effort, where, you know, I'm supported with my endeavors and I can support a good team that's open-minded and looking to grow. Okay. So just putting that out there. If you guys know someone or something, send them my way.
And not just
I'd be very interested in chatting.
not just if you know. If there's any wrestling coaches that are listening out there that coach at a high school level or a junior college level, talk to them, man. Learn some different shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all out there. It's the same for me here in Australia. If you're in Australia and you got a jiu-jitsu gym, an MMA gym, or anything else, and you want some wrestling from a wrestling coach brought into your gym, hit me up. Everybody knows, deathrowhq.com.au. Go to the internet, look it up. My phone number's there, email's there. Hit me up. More than happy to come do seminars. More than happy to come over, have a chat. Whatever it is, hit me up. We can do it. You guys just have to reach out to all of us, and we can be there and how about it. It's so much easier to answer a question in person. Believe me, it is.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like we're not hiding behind a curtain. We're not keyboard warriors. Adam and I are very accessible. It's about as accessible as you can get, right? We don't turn anybody away. You want to come train, come train. If you have a question, call us. This is about accessible as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us are the man on the high mountain and you can't reach us and you have to go through 18 different firewalls and different people and management to get us. Hit us up. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. And we're eager. We're eager to help. So we'll leave it at that. Unless you have anything else, Adam.
Nope, I'm good. Break the line, people. Break the line.
No, this was great. Break the fucking line and learn how to move your feet.
Exactly.
Very simple. All right, guys. Until next time, we are out of here.